something we're all aware of, some of us more than others. However, it's really something that we can keep. But please join me in welcoming Pamela Anderson and Rabbi Shmuley, who are going to do exactly that.
I've never seen the sex tape, but unfortunately started a desperate trend with other on-the-verge celebrities. And we started to find it was humiliating and frustrating. I was told that because of my Playboy background, I had no right to privacy. The depositions were insensitive and creepy. They blew up naked photos of me, and there was 5 men rifling questions to me about my sex life with that note stuck in the corner of their mouths. I kept thinking, these grown men are looking at me with such hatred. It made me feel worthless, scared, and confused. What did we do wrong? We didn't want this to happen. It was stolen. I was in constant tears. I was 7 months pregnant with my son Dylan, and the stress was too much. So Tommy and I decided it wasn't worth the health of our son to fight it, and it had already been out there where everyone had seen it. We were offered money by porn distributors. We wouldn't take it. It was dirty money. We both had very strong careers and weren't about to lower ourselves to that level. It was not a choice we made for fame or for money. There is no sleazy self-promotion motivation behind it, like some others. And we just got lumped into the sex tape movement. So it definitely helped escalate the end of my marriage, and I guess it was inevitable. I then married another rock star. I was trying to create a family for my kids, and replacing one with another. It was really unfair to my husband looking back. He took the brunt of all my unresolved feelings. There was no hope. Though he took us in and tried very hard to end divorce number 2. And then years later, I married an old friend, getting to the porn thing. He seemed to change his life for the better. He was sober, but a gambler, and addictions like to cross paths. And I had to find out the hard way. This specific and painful journey is what inspired the debate in myself. I'm well aware of my part in all this, and that my track record is one of the saint. And it makes me hypocritical, a sex symbol, complaining about porn addiction. Well, I've been on my own for a year now, looking at my life, taking stock, and realizing a lot. From my perspective, surrounded by dark, addictive behaviors and witnessing how they affect romantic love. I am a romantic. Smokey Robinson once consoled me when I was looking distraught after my divorce at the Playboy Mansion. He said, "Don't worry, baby. You're a romantic. Just keep trying." I'll always remember that. And it's Smokey Robinson that made me feel better. I'm essentially a driven woman. I'm not a prude. And there lays the frustration. Great sex is not porn. And when you're treated like a porn star, it's not fun to be slapped around, called for, and spit on. It's sick, it's hurtful, demeaning, and it's terrible, terrible sex. And a society desensitized through the easily available explicit imagery on the internet at any age, we go numb and become neglectful. Neglect is a form of abuse, and it's also used to manipulate. And relationships are suffering in very painful ways. My goal isn't to stop the internet, though once was. I've grown to understand that's not the answer. I'm afraid that the world might forget how to make love. The quick, easy fix of masturbation leaves us relieved and frustrated at the same time. Too much access. Too many young people accessing images of what they think love may look like. There's less mystery and gone are the days of finding your father's Playboy, an innocent exploration, titillating the girls next door. It just has taken a darker trend. Porn even killed Playboy, like video killed radio star. Some people say maybe she's just getting old all creating our own myth, literally with editing apps and Photoshop. It's fantasy. Less of where we end and the world begins. I'm proposing a sensual revolution that encourages human relationships, breaks from technology. Censorship is not the answer, and this is not a government issue. This is our individual issue. I'm a mother, and my boys are both romantics. They have witnessed a lot of love, a lot of despair, and despite their rock star parents, imperfect parents, they are well-adjusted individuals. I know they want to find a lasting loving relationship, and they are brave and open. They have not become bitter by some miracle. I sat with them through tears about their girlfriends with both boys, and they're both in relationships now, even with so many options and dating apps. And when I've heard the word hookup spoken between friends, I had to have deep sit-down, that's enough conversations about that. I tell them to be careful. They disrespect women. They disrespect me. Brandon's much more sensitive than he lets on. He's the actor, so the flair for drama is a bonus. He's learning his limits, applying self-discipline and determined ambition. Dylan is the Buddha, the Zen-like boy, verified by others to call him. Butterflies will land on him as a baby, actually, and his calmness. There's a calmness about him that is inviting, but it has its boundaries too. I'm really proud, as you can tell. They both teach me so much just by watching them grow, make decisions as men, and by giving them advice. It's a funny way of giving advice to ourselves. I've had to take technology vacations. I actually took 6 months off of touching a phone or a computer. It was the best thing I did. How else will you meet someone's eyes from across the room, linger on that blush, feel the feeling, the rush of being noticed in the flesh, and cell phones make it too easy to access each other, or keep tabs on one another. How can trust ever be built on a soul level if you can click on someone's current location? I'm guilty of that one. Feeling a deep connection, the lightning bolt, the dance, waiting for the one. I've had wildly romantic and fun life, and I'm taking time out to discover something, a social experiment that might bring back enduring happiness. Consistent human connection, compassion for all living things, compassionate choices, what we eat, what we wear, it's all connected. And activism is sexy, and energized empathy, inspired to take chances, and to give back. The universe validates good decisions, I've found. And depression is purposelessness. We must find our purpose, and that's where the joy is. We are all climate refugees. We are all in the same boat. It's important that we cultivate human relationships. We imprint ourselves with what we watch and listen to, numbness, desensitization, the protective layer, fear, political tactics, bullying, porn. We can't get rid of porn. The internet or the news. We are all victims of overexposure from all angles, and we can choose for ourselves what we do with our time. There are plenty of people within ear's reach to talk to help, and to love. Porn and prostitution addiction is self-serving. It also contributes to sex trafficking, pedophiles, child abuse, and rape. Fetishes that are turning violent and escalating. They have no meaning or productive value and are a danger to society. I hope to plant a seed and to start conversations. Maybe I'm new-fashioned. I'm sick of the trying too hard, TTH we used to call it, a turn-off. Have you ever had someone treat you like a porn star? It's terrible. And when I fantasize about a family, a loving husband, holding hands on the beach, cooking for a table with friends and family, someone to laugh with, to cry with, to share the world with, to tackle problems together, to age together. So be brave, do not give up. Since sex might become virtual, the world is becoming an androgynous, sexless empire. Most of us still want someone we desire to desire us back. Some people can no longer even get aroused by another person in the flesh. Some have been addicted to porn since their first exposure to sexual feelings. Fear of human contact. They're overstimulated themselves. It keeps taking more and more, and something stranger and possibly worse to get that thrill. Being a sex symbol, I may have some authority on the subject. I don't know. I've done 50 years of research. I hope you'll join me in the discussion and something we can all relate to, that curious subject, sex. We need a sensual revolution. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It can be intimidating being a writer and activist appearing alongside an international sex symbol, but I think that Pamela has handled it extremely well. bottom. I'm tired of being treated like a piece of meat. Okay? I'm tired of being appreciated only for form and no substance. Some of the guys here go to the gym and they work on their six-pack. I, as a Jew who believes in unity above all else, have a mono-pack. E pluribus unum. From the many, there shall be one. Three misconceptions that we will briefly address. Because I only have 15 minutes, that's the bad news. The worst news is it's a Jewish 15 minutes. You guys make me here straight through to Hillary. Oh, Hillary this year has a double connotation, by the way. That's interesting. The first, that marriage is sexless and it sucks. Samuel Dryden buried his wife here in England in 1787, and on her actual tombstone he wrote, "Here lies my wife, here let her lie. Now she's at peace, and so am I." Helen Rowland, marriage is whereby a woman exchanges the attention of many men for the inattention of one. Woody Allen, it's no surprise my marriage failed. I always tended to place my wife under a pedestal. Now, is that true that the central institution of our society has become utterly passionless and can't be rescued? Misconception number two. Men are much more sexual than women. The man says to his wife, "How about some sex tonight?" And she looks back at him and says, "Not tonight, I have a headache." And yet the man can have an axe lodged in his head. He can have an axe in his head and he's still ready. Honey, you sure you want to go through with this? I don't know how to tell you this, but you've got an axe in your head. So what? Is your sister also here? Women are much more sexual than men. Women are multi-orgasmic. Men are uni-orgasmic. You're making love to a guy, and 1 second he's promising you a life ever after, and the next moment you are in bed with a corpse. He is dead. You're not calling the wedding planner. You're not calling the wedding planner. You are calling the Undertaker. What killed female sexuality and the female attachment to romance, love, and marriage, such that 50% of divorces in the Western world, and 50% divorce rate in the Western world, you've heard that, but 75% are initiated by wives who would rather be alone than be with this guy who doesn't make love to them, doesn't focus on them, doesn't pay attention to them. What killed the female libido and the female interest in romance? I want to prove to you how bad it's gotten. This is a test. It is a serious test. It is a question directed to the women only. If you're unsure of your gender, that's okay. But this is a question that is addressed to the women. Could you raise your hand if you can listen very carefully? Raise your hand if you are a woman in this audience who, listen carefully, needs a man. Now, before you answer, I did not ask you to raise your hand if you can stomach a man. Less so did I ask you to raise your hand if you can survive a man. Raise your hand if you need a man. Don't overwhelm me all at once. One woman needs a man. And that's because you're sitting next to your brother, all right? You need a man? You're the only two women who need a man. You're sitting next to my wife, so that's not fair. That's like security in numbers. 2 women out of a few hundred need a man. Okay, fair enough. Now, follow up to the women again. Raise your hand if you need a refrigerator. Raise your hand. That's That's amazing. Now, why would you confess a dependency on a piece of metal that can cool your milk, rather than a piece of flesh that could warm and electrify your heart? The answer? Because GE brings good things to life, right? Unbelievable. Women are so turned off of guys, they find it a sign of weakness to confess any attachment to a man. That's astonishing. I was raised on stories of like Snow White being kissed by the prince, and I was raised on stories of Disney cartoons of love, and this is what we've come to. This cynicism that women will not even confess any desire to be strongly attached to him. If it works out, if he's the right kind of man. Finally, the death of sex in our time. Is anyone here familiar? I'm not sure about the UK statistics as much, but what is the rate of sex between a married couple in the United States? Anyone want to venture a guess? What is the frequency of sex between a married couple in the United States? Anyone?
Once a month.
Once a month? Okay, when you get married, you just want a free counseling. Give your email address. Okay. Once a month. By the way, the British guys are hearing that. Once a month? Oh my God, what are all these men? The American men are Superman? Do they all have like a Viagra drip? Anyone else? Go ahead. 3 times a week? Haven't you ever heard of television? 3 times a week? It's actually once a week for 7 minutes at a time. This is true. 7 minutes at a time, which includes the time he spends begging. It's 7 minutes of sex, so it's not a lot of sex. Okay, so what do we have? We have the death of marriage. We have the nadir of female sexuality and dependency on men, and women getting turned off of men, and finally, we have the death of sex itself. Was that what the sexual revolution promised? That people would no longer believe in love? That women would feel alienated from men, and that sex itself would die? Is it not time that we began to repudiate the sexual revolution itself? It kind of failed. What kind of revolution doesn't give you sex? So here, in the last moments remaining to me, tonight, what's the date again? Someone help me? I've been traveling so much, I really don't know. It's October
15th.
Thank you. You're on October 15th, 2016, in the Oxford Union Chamber in Oxford, where I lived for 11 years. 6 of my 9 children were born here. We've had 30 cents. That was a joke, by the way. Here, on October 15th, 2016, in the Oxford Union Chamber, one man will finally provide the solution to all the wrecked and cynical relationships. One man will answer the question of how to create love. And why? Because this man is no ordinary man. I am no ordinary rabbi. I am the love prophet. Or in Hebrew, the love prophet. My name is Shmuley. It's an uncommon name. It's a contraction of 2 Hebrew words. Shmu from the Hebrew root word shamu, meaning killer whale. And Lee from the root word Pamela Anderson Lee, larger than life Jewish sex icon. Now I gotta tell you, I used to use that line when I launched Kosher Sex as a book here at Oxford in 1998. And Pamela was still married at the time, so it worked. Now, I can't say my name is Schmlanderson. That's not gonna work. So the Pamela Anderson thing, I just want you to know, I always use that line. Pamela and I have teamed up to address these 3 things. And to kind of, and by the way, you have to understand the courage of this woman sitting before you. Here you have a woman, internationally famous for her beauty, for her attractiveness, but I've discovered in our friendship a woman of grace, refinement, insight, wisdom, and above all else, courage. It is not easy being an international sex symbol and coming out and saying there's a way that women ought to be treated. There are things that will happen in a culture that will extinguish the female libido. There is a portrayal of women that when it becomes too extreme actually subverts lust and creates complacency. Pornography is only a part of it, But why specifically pornography? Why did it kill off things like marriage, female sexuality, female libido, and finally sex itself? I'll tell you, it's easy. Love and sex are not connected. You can love someone and not have sex with them. Hopefully, that's true of most of your relationships. It is lust and sex which are connected. We were never supposed to create love marriages. We were supposed to create lust marriages. That's why the 10th commandment says, "Thou shalt not lust after thy neighbor's wife," because you sure as heck ought to be lusting after your own. Now, how do you create lust? Love is created through total openness, constant exposure, shared experiences, shared values. Lust is precisely the opposite. Lust is created through 3 rules. Number 1, unavailability, not constant availability. Number 2, mystery as opposed to full disclosure. And number 3, I'll get to number 3 in a moment because this can be a test for the guys, but I want to prove it to you. I'm holding in my hands an iPhone 7. I am a paid spokesman by Apple Computer. I'm actually not. I wish I were, but I deserve to be. This is the most sought-after consumer product on the face of the earth, and has been for about 10 years. Is it the technology? Gosh, you guys are not reading my private messages, right? Is it the technology? The Samsung's pretty good technology, if it doesn't blow up on your airplane. It's not the technology. It's that Steve Jobs was a genius who understood that lust was an ethereal concept that could be superimposed on anything, not just flesh, as long as you abided by 3 principles. He didn't want you to love his phone the way you love your car. He wanted you to lust after his phone and to wait online to buy one the way that Romeo waited outside of Juliet's porch. What are the 3 rules of lust? Number 1, what did he do with the phone? A, unavailability. Make it impossible to buy the darn thing. Get people talking about, do you get one? Can I buy one? Stand in line for 10 hours? He purposely limited the number of product in his stores so that you had to lust for what you could not have. Number 2, Apple became the first consumer company ever to go hyper-mysterious in what they were producing. They never talk about their product. I'm sure you remember when one unfortunate engineer left his iPhone 4 in a bar in Cupertino, California, where Apple's headquartered. He was fired instantly. Mysteriousness. And number 3, forbiddenness. Question for the guys. You're on a beautiful Mediterranean beach. There are thousands of women, hundreds, thousands, walking around in bikinis, scantily clad, not wearing a lot of, I want you to visualize this as much as you can. Walking around, scantily clad. Gentlemen, is that a sexy scene? Yeah, that's pretty sexy. Women, beautiful bodies, in bikinis, that's pretty sexy. Men love going to beaches. Follow-up question. Is it erotic? Is it erotic? Of course it's not erotic. How do you know a beach is not erotic? Because what do men do at a beach? 2 things. They either play frisbee or they fall asleep. Oh my God, thousands of women in bikinis and stuff. Now, you're walking home from the beach and you're passing the apartment of one woman who accidentally left the blinds to her bedroom open. And she's wearing the same amount of clothing that a woman would wear at a beach, only this time it's her undergarments. One woman, and now you're walking by and you see a woman walking around in undergarments. She left the blinds open. Question, what does the male do? Does he do one of those 2 things? Oh my God, there's a woman in her bedroom walking around in her underwear, left the blinds open, I'm gonna... Or does he think, woman in her bedroom, in her undergarments, if only I had a frisbee. Where is my frisbee? Why is the second scenario erotic and the first is not? Because the first scenario, no matter how many women are walking around exposed, it's legal, it's open, it's available. And the second, it's forbidden, it's sinful. That's why Steve Jobs positioned Apple as the forbidden company. Think different was his motto. He was the rebel who was going to upstage IBM. He was permanently, even when they were the most valued company on earth, they were still the company that was rebellious. You were different if you bought an Apple product. That's what Samsung is missing. They don't understand lust in marketing. And now you see, my friends, how pornography killed off all three. We thought it would give us this sex-saturated, exciting, erotic society, where women too could participate in the sexual revolution, because women are much more sexual than men. Instead, it destroyed unavailability. It made women, especially, so available that guys started getting bored. Don't believe me? Then why is it when you go to a porn site, you click a picture of one naked woman, and instantly 10,000 other pictures pop up? Or so my friends tell me. Why do you need the variety? Because that woman, you got whatever little high you're going to get, and the boredom comes instantly. Now you need attraction, not to a kind of woman, not to one person, but to womankind. Porn is only exciting in vast quantities. Hence its addictive nature. It starts by looking at 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, until you can't be titillated by a woman's naked body anymore. Number two, why did it turn off women sexually? Beyond the powerful insights that Pamela herself has said, that porn turned us off sexually because you could be Pamela Anderson, the most famous North American sex symbol, perhaps world sex symbol of the past 25 years, and you could be in bed in lingerie as she's expressed it, and you can be ignored by a guy. That's quite astonishing, but that's not what turned off women completely. What turned them off was when they started to be treated, as porn depicted them, as a means to a man's end. They weren't equals anymore. It wasn't about pleasuring a woman. It wasn't about appreciating her body. Women became the walking male orgasm. They existed only to get the guy off. It was no longer about pleasuring them and interesting them, and that's why I'm seeing as a counselor so many women who are just getting turned off with sex. What the heck is this? There aren't two participants. I'm here for you as if we're not equals, as if I don't have sexual fulfillment, as if I don't have sexual attainment, as if I'm not a full sexual being. Who gave you that idea? And finally, why did it kill marriage? Because marriage is about one thing. It's about giving us what we all most deeply desire. You know why you guys are at Oxford? I was a rabbi here at this university for 11 years. This is one of the world's top universities. For the first time, even when I lived at this, it didn't happen. Oxford was just rated the #1 university in the world. It beat out Harvard and Princeton, so Britain is back to having the #1 university in the world. It's hard to get into this place. You got to apply, 3 tough years, tutorials, exams. I remember the pressures on the students before their examinations and all the celebrations we had when they finally finished outside of the exam rooms at near UNIV. Eggs and champagne. God, so much wasted champagne. You know why you're here? Because everyone wants one thing in life. It's to be special, to be distinguished, to be unique. And so often in life, we are unique through what we do. I got into Oxford. It'll say Oxon for the rest of my life as an appendage to my name. And I'll get a master's automatically, unlike almost any university in the world, after 5 years. And I'm a union officer, and I have all these other accolades. That's pretty cool. Problem is, it's all specialness for what you do. And it can be pretty exhausting, because someone else might do more. But then there's specialness, not through doing, but through being. That is sex. When you're totally naked, bereft of any accolade, it's just you in your sensual glory, and someone is drawn to you. And if they're still not drawn to you, if you need to put on a little nurse's outfit, if you need to say the right stuff, then you're back to doing and not being. And that's why sex died. Because sex is pleasurable when we submit entirely to instinct, when we submit entirely and to freedom. It's the greatest act of liberation, but not the way we're doing it now. So I second Pamela's call for a sensual revolution of people in their full sensuality connecting, being appreciated, men having one erotic target, women having one erotic target, true relationships built on love, electrifying sex that comes through being so focused that your relationship becomes positively explosive. Thank you. everybody loves me. Those that don't, live in a democracy and they have the right to be wrong, which I respect. Of course I've got criticism, because it's so odd. I published Kosher Sex when I was a rabbi at Rosh, 1998, and I had an avalanche of criticism. And people were saying, what's a rabbi doing writing about sex? And I said, where should people learn about sex from? Should it only be from pornographic websites? Pamela and I were doing a Cosmo interview the other day, where these two young women, journalists, said to us, if you guys don't want people to porn, how are young people going to learn to have sex? That's unbelievable. How are they going to have sex? Without looking at porn? You know, porn gives you, the directors there saying, okay, we did there's 4 mandatory positions, again, from what my friends tell me. There's 4 mandatory positions. Mandatory position number 1. Number 2, it is so staged, it is so fraudulent, it is such a bore. And if I'm wrong that porn is a bore, which is my biggest argument against it, then why does Playboy or Penthouse or Hustler or any of them, why do they need to pay 12 women to be playmates for 12 months of the year? Pay one woman and just reproduce the images 12 times. Because no one was going to buy February or March after they had already seen a woman fully unclothed. Because mysteriousness is what is truly sexy. So yeah, I've got a lot of criticism, but I'm a child of divorce. And I want to know the secret of keeping a man and a woman happy under the same roof for the duration of their lives. And I don't want to do it out of a sense of obligation or out of a sense of moral responsibility. A marriage which doesn't have a happy, sensual, and sexual life, if it's not electrifying and the lust between a man and a woman, that marriage is a jail cell. It's a form of incarceration. So we have a choice. We can either give up on the institution, which many are doing, because they're saying, you know, you've heard the arguments, people were supposed to drop dead at 35, and now they live till 80, and so marriage is not designed to last 50 years, and I think that a lot of young people are beginning to believe that. Or we can finally discern the secrets of the erotic mind, which have less footprints on it than like the moon. We have no understanding of the erotic mind. We know sexual positions, we know the female anatomy, the male anatomy, but this is our principal sexual organ, and it's actually astonishing how little we understand about what makes things attractive. For example, many of you are studying English literature, and you're reading Tolstoy, and you're reading Lady Chatterley, or Madame Bovary, or Tess, and what they all have in common is all world literature focuses on the adulterous wife, not on the faithful wife, with the exception maybe of Lady Macbeth. Now that begs the question, why is the unfaithful wife so much more erotically attractive than the wife who is devoted and monogamous? We never ask questions like that. In answering them, we will finally find the secret. So we can get criticism, but I actually think that love and relationships is not something that was invented by all people. I think it's real. I think it's what we all want. And Pamela and I are not here launching a sensual campaign for moral, prudish, or religious reasons. I am proud that I'm a rabbi, and that speaks to my values, but this is not a religious campaign. We're doing so because of what people most want. They want 2 things, which seem to be mutually exclusive. They want passion and intimacy. Passion comes from novelty, so we think we need new people and new partners. But intimacy comes from sharing a life with someone who loves you. So we have to learn how to harmonize those 2.
So you mentioned a campaign, and I'm wondering firstly what the next steps are. But before you answer that, actually, how did this even happen? Who brought porn up in a conversation over a coffee?
Pamela had seen some of my videos. I'm not proud of some of the things that I've done. I have 9 children to support. Now, you know, in answering that, I should mention, thank you very much for inviting us. We're very honored to be at the union. Thank you to the president of the union for, it was arduous getting us here, to be perfectly honest, and we persevered here. It was hard for me because it's a Saturday night. After Shabbat, we couldn't leave London until the Sabbath ended. Pamela persevered for all of my religious restrictions. I'm grateful. But somebody asked Pamela what kind of, what kind of porn is, what do you call porn? It's acceptable. You know, I've never said this to Steve and Pamela. The video she made with her husband, Pamela Lee, that's great porn. Meaning for them. It should have been for them. Exclusively for them. If you want to make your own video to titillate each other, where you're focused on each other, that's a beautiful thing. But her video was stolen. And then it was no longer private. There's nothing wrong. I love men and women who love each other, especially those in marriage, being excited by each other's bodies. And we should not be reproducing this life. you got to make sure that, especially in the age of Edward Snowden, that like the NSA doesn't uplift you, doesn't like kind of steal your video. But it's about the exclusivity. The problem with porn is you get excited about by strangers, so it compromises that intimacy. But the way this friendship started was I have argued passionately for the state of Israel in this chamber many, many times. I brought 5 Israeli prime ministers to speak in this chamber, including Benjamin Netanyahu twice, and Sharon, and Peres, who just passed away. And I was in a debate recently here in the Union, Thanksgiving, defending Israel. And I run an organization that champions Israel. And Pamela was married to a Jewish husband, and they honeymooned in Israel, and she vacationed in Israel. And she said very, very beautiful things about the state, and I really honor her for her friendship with the Jewish people in Israel. And then we became friends. And as we sat on the shores of Malibu, which is not as beautiful as Britain in the winter, we started talking. It was amazing that we came to the same conclusions from totally different perspectives. It was astonishing. You would think that we would disagree, but we agreed on so many things. We decided this was a necessary campaign. I should also say that Pamela is an activist who gives her heart and her soul to important causes. At our debate, she spoke about animal welfare, and she's been speaking about that all over the UK over the past few days. Much more than even the sexual revolution. Her passion is protecting these helpless creatures that are being abused and used and slaughtered in our time. I should mention that, but that's not what makes Pamela the wonderful person that she is. Above all else, Pamela is the most outstanding mother. She's totally involved in the lives of her 2 sons. She wants to raise gentlemen. And this is very close to her heart, to raise 2 sons who would respect women. Now, if you look at the absolutely embarrassing presidential election going on in our country, and our president is going to impact on your lives, because our president is going to be the leader of the free world. And any of you watching this have to be astonished that such a great republic can produce such an embarrassing presidential race. And who would have thought that in the end, after all the various debates, Hillary's emails and Trump's comments about immigrants, and Trump's immoral attempt to ban Muslim immigrants to the United States, especially Syrian refugees. And I'm a Jew who understands the importance of refugees, given how our shores were closed in the U.S. and in Israel before Israel was a state during the Holocaust. But who would have thought that those wouldn't be the issues that we would debate? That the presidential relation would come down to one thing: do men respect women? I was here as Rabbi of Oxford when Bill Clinton was president, from 1992 to 2001. I remember the Monica Lewinsky scandals, which are now being rehashed. And now we have Trump's comments about women that are shocking, downright shocking and astonishing. But I have to tell you that both of these men marinated in a culture where women are portrayed as a sexual man's plaything. And that's no excuse, because we all have personal accountability. It's no excuse. But to say that this is divorced, that it's 2 guys, or Trump, because he's the one running for president, divorced from a culture that uses women's bodies to sell beer? Come on, give me a break.
This kind of culture that the rabbi has described, do you think it's exacerbated